Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this really nice Tuesday here along the northeast coasts of Long Island and New Jersey. We're getting some sunshine, but there are clouds on the western horizon, so we are seeing the instability clouds develop with that upper low that's still spinning in the northeast. And if you look really close here on this radar loop, you can see some little pockets of showers in northeastern New York and off the southeastern New England. But I'm thinking today that if a shower does pop up this afternoon in this area here, it'll probably be very isolated, and if it even happens at all. I just wanted to start with the severe weather threat today, with slight risk of severe weather across eastern New Mexico into southeastern Colorado, even pushes up a little bit further north than that, and a good chunk of west and northwest Texas. And also on the panhandle of Oklahoma. But there's this general area of showers and storms. And if you look down here in the southwest and into southernmost California, this is the upper air storm that's been spinning there for a couple of days, and it's been producing some widespread shower and thunderstorm activity. So I would not at all be surprised to see some pretty hefty thunderstorms bubble up in that particular region. As far as the weather conditions at midday, it is cool. Temperatures are in the middle 50s. We're getting a bit of a recovery because of some places having some sun. In fact, a few 60-degree readings are beginning to pop up in a couple of places, but it's mostly 50s, even still a few leftover upper 40s as we are at the lunchtime hour. Now, with regards to what's showing up on the radar itself, there are some showers and a couple of heavier downpours, and probably will be a couple of thunderstorms that'll develop here. This is kind of the back edge boundary of that upper air circulation, so you're seeing this narrow band of showers moving southeastward, and that's how the flow is going to be for the next day or so, and they extend back up into the Great Lakes. We got some patchy showers in parts of South Dakota and north central Nebraska, and then when we look down in the southwest, here's that upper low that's spinning over northern Baja California, arcing these showers back westward. Nothing of consequence today as you go northward up into the Pacific Northwest. So for a change, looking pretty good up there. Okay, so why don't we take a look at the satellite views? And there's that upper air low is spinning here, and it's just going to start to stretch out of it. Part of it's going to drop southeastward. Part of it eventually is going to pull back west, and this is going to be the trigger mechanism for a possible low pressure center that's going to move up the East Coast over the weekend. Still not 100% certain of this or sold on it, and I'll get to that in just a second. And with respect to the west, there's that upper low. Now that you get to daytime, you get to see the actual visible satellite here. That's a pretty well-defined little spin of clouds that just keeps sitting there and sitting there. But it's pretty nice up into Oregon and Washington State this morning, almost cloud-free there, and also into Idaho and Nevada. There's moisture coming in to the northwest into Vancouver, and that's moving in British Columbia. That's moving northeastward. Some of those clouds will start to sweep in probably later on today. So let's take a look at what the models are showing here, and we have the new GFS. So I figured wait long enough today we could see that. And here are these weak systems that are going out south and east of this area, our area here, the northeast, and we're pushing into Thursday. I think the weather overall for the next couple of days should be pretty good. We're going to, probably see a little more sun for Wednesday and for Thursday. Could be partly to mostly sunny, in fact. And the energy from the upper low to the north is being used by a low that's developing offshore. You can see it here on the edge of the picture, right here, well east of the Virginia coast and south of Nova Scotia. But you start to get rains breaking out across the Ohio Valley, back over into the middle Mississippi Valley as a new low starts out in Oklahoma and runs out northeastward. And part of that energy comes out, and then you get another piece that sort of gets left behind. So that's the one that I think is the one to watch. And we've got a low that's in the panhandle of Virginia Friday night, rains into the Delmarva Peninsula, Maryland, and parts of Pennsylvania. Kind of starts to push up the coast by Saturday morning. And we have a low in Chesapeake Bay, Saturday afternoon with rain up through southern New England and even through parts of upstate New York. Now the low, this is Saturday evening. That's not too unimpressive for this time of year, a 996 millibar low. And the pressure gradient is a little bit on the tight side, so I would say it would get breezy. But the inflow is here, if this is correct, to produce a pretty substantial rainfall. And I want to go back to last night's mid-cycle run, because that had a really wrapped up low on the GFS. It actually hooked it up northeastward right along the New Jersey coast and deepened it to a 989 low. I mean, this would be a wholesale nor'easter with gales and 4-inch plus rains if this worked out, according to what that model had. And it had rain still here for pretty much a good chunk of Mother's Day before it moves out to the east. I think the possibility of that happening might be a little bit on the extreme. It looks like it might be on the edge of possibilities. I think a weaker low, which is what the European had, makes a little more sense. Now, it's kind of doing the same thing here today, except it's a little further east. But this is still going to mean for a very nasty Saturday night into Sunday morning across the Northeast, with a low in almost a, this is really a mid-spring nor'easter if this works out. So why is this happening? Well, let's look at the upper air and take a look. And you have this sharpening trough, and here's the upper low that's sitting over here now, overhead. And you see how it gets translated. It basically starts pushing southeastward and offshore, but it's acting as a block. Everything's still blocked up in the atmosphere. And then this next shortwave trough in the southern stream, you've got another system coming down in the north, and it does kind of a phase here. So we'll have to ask ourselves whether this is reality or not, because that's very important. If it's a phase, then you'll have a tucked-in coastal low. If it's not, you're going to have a weaker system that's going to go out further to the south with much less in terms of rain, and that is one of the risks when you deal with weather systems like this. They have to everything's got to kind of time out. And here's the view from last night's run, which actually you probably could put an upper air low sitting in central Pennsylvania. So this is a pretty good little shot of energy that's lifting up and phasing around, and that's what that run did. Actually, it cut the low off here, wrapped it up pretty nicely off the New Jersey coast before it kicks it out to the east. And then by the middle of next week, we get into a ridge here in the eastern part of the United States as the block breaks down, and we warm up for a couple of days before another cold front moves on through. Or at least we're going to get into the natural progression of weather systems moving from west to east again once this system gets played through for the weekend. Now let's look at the west. And in the west, I will let's just go back a little bit here, and we'll start with today's new run. And there we go. So here's that upper low that's in over Baja California. It just gradually lifts out and gets kicked along to the east. So that's going to be that's the seedling. That's the feature that is going to be the East Coast weather system for the weekend. And then you have a fairly big system coming into the Pacific Northwest over the weekend, and a nice deep trough here that forms along the west coast of the U.S. And when we looked at it from the earlier run, it's same idea. It looks like a couple of deep troughs come crashing into the west, which will, if the block is breaking down, makes a lot of sense for the trough to be on the western part of the U.S. with the ridge building in the east. So for the surface and how it looks, by the way, if you haven't seen it, I posted the Hurricane Center, the National Hurricane Center was here with the Air Force reconnaissance aircraft and the NOAA plane yesterday at Islip MacArthur Airport, and I got to go inside and I shot a video. It's on the YouTube channel, so take a look at that if you haven't seen it yet. So storminess in the Rockies, and there's that new low that comes out. You start to get, after this nice little dry period in the Pacific Northwest, we get that bigger system that comes in over the weekend with some rain and snow, and it still wants to kind of drop it down into California, although it's not nearly as bullish on that as it was the last couple of days. But a lot of action shifts over into the Rockies later next week, if this is right. Late season snows for the central and northern and parts of the northern Rockies, with low pressure developing there and heading up into the western Great Lakes. Very interesting pattern going forward. And I'm going to, very quickly, we'll talk about what the keys are with regards to the weekend here in the Northeast. And again, that block is breaking down. If we start from today, here's that big upper high. And you've got this storm out in the Azores that's still sitting there, but it finally starts to move as this system is allowed then to drop off the New England coast. Here's the system for the weekend that's coming out from the southwest. Now, watch that upper high here. You see how it just gradually disappears, and then you have a trough. A little energy comes down in that northern jet, so you wind up with this nice sharp little trough here along the east coast. So this is what's going to make for a low right along the coastline, and you have this weather system that comes in to the west. And notice that instead of high pressure now, we've got lower pressures up over Greenland. So this is going to favor a much more progressive flow over time. Once the block disappears, everything's going to start moving from west to east. And there it is, early next week, and for at least a day or two, it's probably going to we have a couple of warm days before another front drops down from the north. But at least the block is gone. So that just tells you that weather systems can move along. We'll have cold fronts coming through every 3 days or so. It'll get warm for a couple of days and then cool down a bit. But it's a normal flow that is developing. So why don't we I'll give you one last look. Let's see if the new GFS is out, how much further out it is. It might be out far enough where it'll finish the weekend up at least. And let's see. Okay, so this is Friday, Saturday. Yeah, there's the low. It gets really tucked in. That upper low cuts off. So if this is right, there's going to be some substantial rains again here for Saturday. This is Sunday morning. It'd be pouring all over the place around the New York, New Jersey, Long Island area. And then the low is still out just east of New Jersey, south of Nantucket, east of, the Delaware coast, south of Nantucket by Sunday evening. And in terms of total rainfall, this could be pretty cool. Let's take a look. And then we'll call it a day. I'm kind of recovering from yesterday. I got to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long, long time, which was really nice. Look at these rainfall amounts: 4 inches plus for the Hudson Valley, a good chunk of northeastern New Jersey, New York City, and Long Island, and 2 inches plus going all the way back down into the Delmarva Peninsula, the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, Northern Virginia, West Virginia, and it also extends northward. 2 inches plus in Connecticut, and much of the southern half of New England, with lesser amounts as you go north and northwest. So it's going to be really important where this system does wind up lifting up to the northeast like this and producing nor'easter conditions. Today's run certainly increases the odds of that happening. Latest website posts on meteorologistjoechaffee.com, Angry Ben for New York City on nycweathernow.com, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the little red subscribe button on the channel page. Would really appreciate it, and you can get involved in the conversation, which I participate in. And in fact, I got to play catch up. I've got 2 days of videos that I got to go back and look at the comments for, which I will do today, I promise. Everybody have a great rest of your Tuesday.